whiskey cube plus almond milk that's already watered down?
No, the whiskey cube is watering down the almond milk.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't have normalized cubes. I like using whiskey cubes for everything. So,
okay.
It also makes it fun during the summer when I'm afraid Lucy's going to overheat and I put a whiskey cube in her water bowl and she's like, what is this? Because it's just a giant cube sticking out of her water.
You're not allowed to remove any of this intro.
Okay. Welcome to X-Men Evolution, episode 49, Cajun Spice of Cyclops is Waiting for Me, an X-Men animated recap podcast. I'm Rod, and I like this episode. I also like the last episode because
that's your intro. Is I like this episode.
You know, there's a reason I'm not an improv or an actor. You know, because I think, well, you know me through the YouTube days from the beginning, but like, I think people just assume because I was on YouTube, like, oh, you can act. Let's hire you for this. It's like, no, you're gonna regret that because I'm not an actor.
My favorite moment of Rod ever acting is still in Nathan Kessel's video, and the phone like drops, and you just stumble to pick up the phone. It was like the most natural reaction possible, and it was so much funnier than if you just got away with it scot-free.
Yeah, it's actually funny because I messed that up so bad when I came back around. I was like, should we do that again? Because I messed up, and Nathan he was already cracking up. He was like, no, that was so much better.
He's like, no, I've already hit upload. We're good.
Right.
No. And I am JC, and I still have not done my Lego build as of time of recording.
I mean, that does seem like a holiday week break build or something, right?
It does. I did also make the investment for the Wicked Bricks casing for it.
Nice.
So it'll have like the display around it and everything like that. Because the dust is going to be absurd in that thing. So,
oh yeah,
Cyclops is Waiting for Me is our weekly podcast series. We're going back and watching every single X-Men animated episode that we can find. Quick side note: there is the Icons Unearthed series that came through from the Vice team and the team that did The Toys That Made Us. They specifically give a very important shout out to X-Men the Animated Series in that first episode before they get deep into MCU lore. So just wanted to point that out really quick. This podcast started with the original 1992 X-Men the Animated Series, building up to the release of X-Men 97. And along the way, we launched our companion show, which is called the Xavier Files, which you should check out because it has interviews with members of the X-Men community, including voice actors from the show, as well as some other people. Since season 2 of X-Men 97 is God knows how far off, we are finishing our first ever watch through of X-Men Evolution just in time for Christmas.
And some quick reminders. Oh yeah, happy holidays.
God damn
Pink
it,
Nightmare.
You're just going to wear these in every single recording, like, for the rest of the year, just Christmas shirts.
The best part is, this wasn't even planned. This is just these are my pajamas I'm wearing right now. So, some quick reminders. We're a recap show about a series that started over 20 years ago. There will be spoilers. If you don't want spoiled for you, pause the podcast, watch the episode, come back. And we're currently not sponsored by or affiliated with Marvel Animation, Disney, or Disney Plus in any way.
Don't forget to follow us on Cyclops IWFM Pod on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, even though I keep forgetting to post there, and Facebook. And I probably should just make the Blue Sky account, right? Like, I should just make it.
I feel like that's all I've seen on the other social media platforms for the last week is like on Instagram is like just screenshots of Blue Sky accounts.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm here. And then you go to their page and nothing is posted. It's literally just follow me. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, now onto the show. Today we're going to be talking about season 4, episode 6, titled Cajun Spice. It aired October 4th, 2003, and currently sits at a 7.4 star rating on IMDb. I get the Gambit reference. The spice is a little bit of a reach, right? Because I don't think it has...
I don't think the titling of X-Men Evolution is as good as X-Men 92 or 97. I'm just going to say that.
They have gotten better, because remember when we watched the first season and we're like, wait, didn't you think that title it was going to be like Jubilee or something, and then it was like a completely different...
There was one that was either made me think it was going to be Sabretooth and it was Magneto, or vice versa. It was just the zero connect on the name.
it was something like, oh yeah, the magnetism of the situation. Oh, it's a Sabretooth episode. Wait, what? That's not real, but it was pretty close.
It was not that bad, but it was close. Yeah.
So this one doesn't have a previously on, but it starts off with Rogue, and my note is like, Rogue, finally. It's been, what, 4, 5 episodes?
Well, this is episode 6, and she killed her mom in episode 1. It was episode 1 of the season. Yeah.
So 5 episodes that just have not worried about it. I don't. She wasn't even in most of them leading up to this.
And we did have a mistake on one of the wikis, because the wiki said she has not appeared in any episode since, and that's a lie, because she was in No Good Deed. We saw her, and we were very vocal about the fact that her and Nightcrawler were in the same room together and totally okay with it.
Yeah. And then also Nightcrawler, when in that episode where him and Kitty have the flu, even though he's sick, he's just not. There's no indication that he's still dealing with like witnessing his mother get killed.
Yeah. He's pretty chill about the whole thing.
Yeah. So we see it's like it looks like a nightmare of some sort, because there's like a celestial size stone mystique that Rogue is freaking out about. And then it zooms out and we see that is Xavier doing his whole like, I'm trying to help you, but I'm probably just traumatizing you thing.
I like how it starts, because it begins on a zoom in of her eye, and then there's these like hands reaching out, and they're not shy about it being a nightmare, because they get like, elongated arms and stuff, and it like has like a little bit of that gross feel, and then she's just like falling in the sky off of her giant shattered mom. So.
It sounds like a new wave song, like
giant shattered mom.
The sky off your giant shattered mom.
I love that Xavier is doing this therapy, whatever you want to call it, at the spot where she murdered her mom.
Yeah, at the gazebo, and right before school.
Yeah, that was a conscious decision by Xavier,
right? So then Rogue, kind of appropriately, just like leaves. She's like, this whole situation's kind of bullshit, which is fair. Yeah. And at school, Rogue is like across the street from the school while everybody, like the bell's rung and everybody's running in, and she's starting to walk in, but then she decides to turn around, because you kind of get the sense that she's going to be like either skipping or maybe running away or something, and she physically bumps into Nightcrawler, and then we finally see like them actually have a problem with each other.
Yeah. 5 episodes later, we finally get the payoff on it.
And they're getting mad at each other. I wouldn't say it's an argument, but they acknowledge their like distaste for each other. Mm-hmm. And this is a weird note that no one else would care about, but like when the conversation ends, it's clearly tense, but whoever did the music cues, it ended on like a Full House, like, oh, this closure now ending. It's like, clearly there was not.
Well, I love how I don't know why I did it. Like, that was her reason. She's just like, it just felt right. Like, something made me do it. Like, she like, you know why you did it. Let's be real.
Yeah, Nightcrawler even said something like bluntly, like you pushed your mother off a cliff. I was like, oh yeah, he just said it.
Yeah. There's really only one reason why you do that.
Yeah. And Nightcrawler goes into school, Rogue goes, whatever, play hooky, run away, and then gets, like, gassed by Gambit in an alley corner. Does not help our whole, like, how old is he? What is he doing with Rogue situation? Mm-hmm. But then that is where that's like the, I don't know, cliffhanger before the intro rolls. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we know nothing bad's going to happen.
Do we really?
Well, actually, I guess to be fair, we don't know what happened while she was gassed.
This is fuckboy Gambit.
Yeah.
Yeah. This of any Gambit is by far the most problematic. So
he just has like knockout gas in his stick. Like I forgot the word there for a second.
The phrasing on that was so good though. like the worst, like poorly written double entendre to it too. Great.
And penis. Anyway, after the intro,
there's a reason one of the Romy fans fucking hates us, and I get it.
Oh, really? I didn't.
There's one particular Romy fan who's not fan of us, and I understand why.
Was anything particular, or just the general vibe?
I think it's particularly how we talk about Rogue's relationship with Gambit.
Oh, being like, how old is Magneto? Like, yeah. Listen, at the end of the day, they're fictional characters. So,
yeah.
So Rogue wakes up, but she's like on a train. It's like, is this like Huckleberry Finn? Like, what is going on here? Once again, not helping Gambit's case.
Huck Finn?
Was that where they were on a train?
No, they were on a raft.
I know they were on a raft, but I thought there was a point. Maybe I'm mixing this up with another childhood story where they're like, I don't know, box carts. I don't know, something. There's a trope of like hopping.
Oh yeah, they hit a trope. I just don't think Huck Finn.
It wasn't Huck
Finn was all about the boat.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't think I've read that since I was 12. So
yeah. I've seen a Simpsons reference more recently than I've read that book. So
yeah. And Gambit. Once again, not helping his case because when Rogue like rolls over, she's tied up.
Yeah, she like tries to throw herself at him, and she like kind of like launches herself, but doesn't do a great job of it. Understandably so.
Yeah, and then Gambit's like, "Look, like you're gonna realize that I'm trying to help you." Is like, there's no apparent reason you're trying to help right now. So
yeah,
unless the school's going to explode or something.
After saying, I've been watching you for weeks and you're a very unhappy girl.
Right. And he said, like, I saw that he referenced some argument points from her Nightcrawler, and she was like, are you following me? He's like, well, duh. But then back at the mansion, Bobby and Sam, I have Iceman and Cannonball, but Sam are getting home, and Nightcrawler. So it's funny, they get home, but it's a playful like superhero way because the Cannonball like goes in through the window by flying, which I think he would have broken something.
And then Bobby makes his like giant like ice slide to like go up to the second floor and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then Nightcrawler teleports in, and he's looking for Xavier, and he kind of pops in throughout the mansion to different groups of kids. Like there was it a study group or a breakfast? I can't remember the scene.
It looked like they were all studying because Multiple has 3 books, and then he splits himself up to like be able to read all of them at once, which, as dumb as he is from like a social aspect, like, you know, we saw him being bad at asking Kitty out kind of scenario. At least he's smart enough to be like, oh, if I read this 3 times, I only have to read this once, and then I reabsorb, and then I remember everything.
That's right, because
it's a shame Jamie's such a fuck up constantly. Right. Like in all versions of Jamie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Jamie's perpetually kind of a fuck up.
Because I'm not as familiar with him, besides a couple references here and there, and then this show. Mm-hmm. But when that moment happened, I was like, man, that would be an interesting concept to play on in like the MCU movies and stuff of how to go like Omega level, you know, with it. Because like, I didn't even think about that like kind of possibility of if you split and then like try to absorb information, you can do that at like such an exponential level. It may be close to infinite, you know?
And the whole thing is like in one story, it's Jamie has like split off and there's like different versions of him that have led like multiple years without ever reconnecting.
Oh, really? Wow.
And when the reconnection happens, he basically absorbs into Jamie Prime all that other experience and information.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, so they have kind of...
That's why I say it's a shame Jamie's such a fuck up.
Right. It's kind of like the argument about the internet. It's like, remember when we thought lack of access to information was society's problem, and that turns out not to be it?
Yeah. Although I will say I do love in the modern Dazzler run, which is a miniseries. I don't think it's a full ongoing. I think it's a miniseries. Jamie is the one-person stage crew for Dazzler's tour.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, he's able to do like all of it, and then like Strong Guy is the head of security and stuff like that. So
that's fun. Yeah.
Or sorry, Domino is the head of security. Strong Guy is... I don't remember what his position was, but Domino's head of security.
That makes sense to be safe because if you're around her, then
no.
Wolverine's like working on a car underneath it, and then gets spooked by Nightcrawler, and Nightcrawler says like, "Hey, I think Rogue's missing because she never showed up for school, and no one can find her." So Wolverine kind of like begrudgingly goes to look for her. He's
been her protector, so I mean, it's like if anybody's going to go out of their way to help her, it's going to be him. You know?
Yeah, because he understands her situation.
Especially like the end of the last season, like he was the one who kind of like talked her down from like the power usage and stuff like that, and was like by the bedside when she was recovering and shit. So
yeah. So he takes his motorcycle out to like around the school, and he finds, I'm assuming it's her bag, in that alley. He sniffs it and smells Gambit, which is out of the context of a superhero show. Such a wild scenario.
It just sounds offensive. Like the words that came to my mind is like, "Oh, he smelled Cajun." And it's like that doesn't sound okay.
We found the spice reference then. That's what it was.
Yes, because he's cooking spicy food, which Gene would hate in all timelines.
Yeah.
It must have still been on his fingers, and it was on the bag. That's what it is.
Or
no euphemism whatsoever.
Or that's his calling card. He's just like, he has a little shaker. He's like, instead of the physical cards he actually carries, like the literal cards he carries.
He doesn't leave cards. He leaves a calling card, which is cayenne pepper, just like sprinkled all over the place. We're fucking stupid, right?
Someone's gonna make it now.
I don't realize, like, why do people listen to us? I'm glad they do, but I don't understand why. So
leave it in the poll below. I don't know.
I stopped putting polls. Leave it in the comments, because comments are on Spotify now.
Yo, Spotify changed the name of their software again, so now it's not podcasters, it's creators.
Is it really?
They said, I went from Anchor to Spotify for podcasters. Now it's Spotify for creators. Like, okay. Which, that means there's going to be some sort of format change, right?
Well, because now you could upload the video podcast to it, but the video podcasts don't populate to the RSS feed outside of Spotify, so that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. So,
because now I still have to do 2 uploads on YouTube every week, and it's stupid.
And I can forget every week.
You've only forgotten 1 week.
Okay.
It just happened to be this week.
It's also a shame that it takes like 7 hours for that video to upload because it's so long.
We need to just get you better internet, honestly.
Maybe, but also it is like a 15 gig file, so...
Like I said, we need to get you better internet. Because I rip the video and upload it to Facebook too, so yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
the next scene was actually kind of one of my favorites.
I love this scene.
Pyro's watching the footage of Magneto getting vaporized just on loop, but like VHS style. Even it's digital, but he's doing the rewind and play it back, and he's just like laughing. Maybe I hate to shade a voice actor. Maybe like one of the corniest accents.
I feel like every version of Pyro is a bad accent, and I think that's on purpose. Like
in universe, he's a fake as well.
Well, not that he's a fake, but it's just like he's so over the top and like hokey vibes.
Yeah, that he's like not around anyone else or seemingly on any duty, but still in his full uniform with the pack. Has the fuel and stuff. But that scene has a function because it once again reminds us that had happened because they haven't referenced it in so long that like, oh yeah, Magneto's air quotes dead.
Yes.
Now, and Wolverine shows up looking for Gambit, which makes sense because to Wolverine's knowledge, he's an acolyte. And then Pyro reveals like the band broke up. Like he's still there. He's kind of like Natasha in Endgame. Like he's the only one left back at the compound. And it looks like he's only there to watch that footage because maybe it only exists on that machine because he's not doing anything else.
He's not doing anything else. He's just literally sitting around in full uniform just watching his boss die from weeks and or months ago at this point.
Right.
Like we don't have a hard timeline on this yet.
Yeah. And he says Colossus went back to his family, right? So he kind of...
Went back to Russia specifically, yep.
Kind of got a little bit of a happy ending there, right? Because we knew that Colossus was there because his family's being held hostage.
Or at least threatened in some capacity.
Yeah,
yep.
And then Sabretooth is playing with a big ball of yarn. I know that was supposed to be... That's like just him poking fun at Sabretooth. But I kind of hope there's some explanation down the road that's like a... Oh, yeah, that was an exaggeration of... fill in the blank, because that would be hilarious.
I would love... We're not going to get it, but I would love to see that. Yep. And then they just straight up don't address Mastermind. Like, Mastermind's dead in a closet or something like that.
I didn't even think about it. I forgot about him, too.
Yeah.
I guess he was kind of being held captive, though, right? So maybe he just
That's why I'm saying, like, I think he just got left behind and they forgot to feed him.
Yeah.
Like, there was nobody for him to manipulate, so he's literally just stuck in a closet dead.
Oh, man. There's a lot of those characters just in fiction in general. That I'm like, I kind of, that's when YouTube was in its, like, skit prime era, you know? Like, I got maybe a decade ago now.
Like old Smosh days kind of vibes.
Yeah. I wanted these skit channels to do the little unexplained moments from TV shows. Like I said in, oh man, what was that show that Terrence Howard starred in it? But like the family would murder someone in every episode and then confess to it in the recording studio as they're doing their raps, but they never addressed the engineer that's clearly there. Empire, yeah. But there's always a recording engineer that is referenced earlier in the scene because they're recording a song for their album. But then when they pan away from the engineer to see the family confessing murder to one another, I was like, someone needs to do a skit about that engineer witnessing every confession to murder in the city. The same thing with like these characters get left behind. It's like, let's go back and visit like villain that got left in a closet or on an island or something. Anyway, back on the train.
Real quick before we get to the train, I did like what he was using was a Firebird, so it was kind of like Wolverine fighting a Phoenix vibe, even though, you know, obviously this world doesn't have a Phoenix as far as we know. So
yeah. Well, I guess it's too late to have it now unless they try to cram it into like one of the last episodes, which would be awful.
Which, based on the images that I think we've seen get spoiled for us, I don't think is possible at this point.
It's better just not to do it than do it poorly.
Twice.
Right, jeez. That guy that fucked up Phoenix twice, he got put in charge of some really big project.
Yeah.
How many people in Hollywood can take like probably multi-billion-dollar like franchise and make two of the biggest flops from it? Like do the same story twice and flop, and then get put in charge of arguably probably one of the biggest franchises. Like
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of happy I'm on my Star Wars hiatus right now.
I'm gonna be there to see the train wreck because I actually didn't mind the last trilogies, even though they clearly had problems and stuff. This man, if there's any Dark Phoenix energy, this is gonna be hilarious. Anyway,
I can't wait till it's a giant space bird.
Right, it's probably what's gonna be.
Yeah,
he's like,
it's a giant space bird made out of the Force.
Yo. Okay, whenever that trilogy comes out, let's go tag it right now, like the fall of 2024. We called it.
Because here's the problem. I made that prediction, so it's not going to happen. If you said the exact same thing, it would happen, and then I'd be swearing a year from
now. So anyway, back on the train.
Yep.
Gambit's like, hey, Rogue, if you calm down, I'll let you go if you're going to listen to me. And for some reason, he trusted that. And so she was like, yeah, totally. And he like unties or cuts the rope. And then she just immediately like tries to tackle it, like push him out of the train. And then he like, oh no, she took what is the stick called?
Staff.
Bow staff.
Bow staff, whatever you want to call it.
So she takes the bow staff and like kind of crunches his knuckles against the edge of the train. And then it like, kind of implies that she's going to drop him. And he charges the entire train car, and he was like, I'll do it. And she was like, yeah, you would.
Yeah.
And pulls him back in. And Gambit's like, go ahead, like, take some of this so you can see that I'm, being honest here. And she was like, gross. Like that.
Well,
but she said before him in her head, I guess. So does his conscious, I don't know. I won't try to dissect that too much.
Well, it's his consciousness goes into her head.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like, even he's not going to get feedback towards him, but she's still going to have like a little bit of Gambit in her mind. I do like that they have a little bit of like, before the let go, there's the heart to heart of like, oh, well, why the playing cards? Like, nobody ever asked that of Gambit in like anything else I've seen. And the answer is really just simple. It's like, well, I want 52 explosives in my pocket.
It's true. Like if you think about
it, it's so pure an answer,
and it is most efficient, right? What other thing could you carry that many of?
Yeah,
that is readily available when you have the power to charge things. It's like even more plausible than like Hawkeye's arrows, right?
Yeah, he runs out of arrows. Yeah,
up until I want to say his Christmas show, they don't really address the arrow situation, right? Because it was in his show. They're like, oh, we have to go back and get some, or we have to make more, or something. I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, he's living in like, you know, a safe house in New York. He doesn't have a bunch of arrows just ready to go at any given time.
I know, and you know, if listeners aren't familiar, like JC is a huge Hawkeye fan, and even though I'm not the biggest fan, what I do love about him throughout the entire MCU, from his first cameo through, you know, Infinity War and Game and everything, is that he's kind of, not always, but like he's been the reality check when there was the right time for one. Like, was it Ultron? When he was talking,
I'm a guy who just shoots arrows.
Yeah, he's like,
I shouldn't be here right
now.
He's
like, nothing makes sense, okay? Because like Wanda's like, this doesn't make sense. He's like, listen, I shoot arrows. There's gods flying around. Nothing makes sense. I'm like, thank you for acknowledging that, and we can move on now. And then even in his show, when he's going deaf, and then do the flashback, he's like, yeah, some stuff might have happened.
He's just a billion things blowing up next to his head.
Right.
But the last tag on that scene that I did like is essentially he points out that the Queen of Hearts is always the last card because she's always looking out for him. And I don't think I had ever read that before, because that might have been an earlier Gambit thing. But we do see like reoccurring imagery, especially even in 97. Like the Queen of Hearts is like, it's so obvious, but it's great seeing it happen. So
yeah, also very much tracks with like horny teenager in the 2000s. Like kind of like pickup line, like, oh, the Queen of Hearts. I was getting ready for him to say like you know.
Speaking of things that would get us in trouble to say it, Punker Ducky obsessed over AJ Locasio finally revealing his Gambit cosplay.
Yeah.
And there was a joke about ducks going to jail where I immediately tagged her in it. And she's like, is this because I'm going to horny jail? And I'm like, you said that, not me.
Yeah, if anybody hasn't seen it, AJ did a great... It was for Halloween, right?
I don't know if it was specifically for Halloween, but yeah, it came out within the last month, yeah.
And he went like I don't know how to explain it, the comic book look. Like, it wasn't supposed to be like, this is how it looked like in like a real world scenario.
Oh, it was very much modeled around the cartoon version. The only thing he didn't do was the like side face cowl stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, like, even just like the look of the materials, like it looked like you just took a cartoon and like did like that Homer Simpson in the episode Treehouse of Horrors when he like goes in the real world kind of thing. Right. As opposed to like trying to make it look, I don't know, whatever's supposed to be like metal or something. You know, so I dig that. Yeah, he killed that. And he's still he's loving it too. He's still reposting. But he's great. I know everybody's rooting for Channing Tatum as Gambit in the MCU now. I would still argue like AJ is an actor too. So now you have the test footage, right? Kind of more of an argument that, you know.
I think we just got to find out when the hell they're going to introduce the goddamn X-Men into live action. So
yeah, it was well, I think now, like, between what Feige said and what we've seen, it's just they're kind of just sprinkling them, right? Through all the releases and stuff, and then maybe Secret Wars is the reveal, or watch them do it in fucking Brave New World. Like, least expect, like, it's just supposed to be like a Winter Soldier-esque, like, political.
If they did it in either Brave New World, or is it Brave New World or New World Order? Is it Brave New World?
Brave New World.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
it used to be New World Order.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And then, or it just is in the end of the Thunderbolts for some reason.
That's the asterisk.
Yeah.
Thunderbolts mutants. No, but I kind of only say that half of that's a dumb prediction that I guess now will probably come true, but the other half is like Marvel's made it clear that Animanium is going to be introduced in Brave New World through the Celestial thing. So, oh man, I wouldn't even be surprised if they hinted at like the Weapon X project or something, even if they don't full blown like introduce the X-Men. Like, or even, you know, what would be even more wild is, or not more wild, more realistic, is that they just kind of drop little, like, storylines, like we meet a Trask just in passing or something. They're like, oh man, here it comes, you know. I don't know. It will fast forward to Valentine's Day of next year, and we'll see if this at all made any sense. Wolverine goes to Xavier and tells him they found her, and then Xavier's like, oh yeah, well, we found her too. Because she used her power, or Gambit used his powers, and Cerebro could track him down.
I love how it's just like a radar ping, essentially.
Right.
Like anytime anybody's using any power. So like he must just be like, oh, that's the Morlocks. I'm just going to ignore that block in downtown Bayville.
Skip ahead like 30 seconds if you don't want the spoiler, and I know you don't care. In Venom: The Last Dance, Venom has a thing, don't ask why, he has a ping, a beacon that reaches out to the enemies they're trying to eat him or whatever, as long as he's in full Venom form. So they're like, oh, we can't be in full form, but they constantly do it throughout the movie so that the villains can catch up with them. And to the point where Venom and Mrs. Chen have a full-on dance sequence for like a full 3 minutes, so it's like long enough for the creatures to come from outer space and find him and stuff.
That's a full 3-minute sequence?
It's a whole song. I haven't timed it because I went to see it once in theaters. I didn't go back. This is essentially the same thing, except a little less dumb.
For those of you who missed it, the story is don't watch Venom: The Last Dance.
Or do in a not low state.
I can't do enough things to make that experience enjoyable. But yeah, so they're headed south, and it's Logan, Cyclops, Storm, and Nightcrawler who hop onto the jet, and they're going to go chase them down.
On the train, Gambit reveals to Rogue that they're going to Louisiana, and Rogue's like, oh, I'm from there. And then real fast transitions to New Orleans.
And not just New Orleans, full-on Mardi Gras parade.
Yeah.
Which, now I'm extra fucked from the timeline of this, by the way.
Yeah, when is Mardi Gras?
Because Mardi Gras happens in March, usually.
Okay.
So, I don't know how much time has happened since Scott and Jean graduated, unless they were like one of those like, oh, we're going to graduate like the mid-semester graduation or something like that.
Yeah.
But then it couldn't be that because Kelly had his election. I am so fucked from this timeline.
So it's probably been almost a year, then, right, from when they graduated high school.
9 months or something, yeah.
Yeah.
The timeline is totally just... Yeah.
Yeah, so they go sit down in a cafe to talk. I noticed, like, Rogue has beads. Now, I've never been to Mardi Gras myself. I have heard the stories of how you get those beads. I don't know if there's another way for...
The more common way is there are 7 million stores that are selling beads.
Okay.
And people will just buy them, too.
Okay.
I have definitely seen that.
Okay.
Granted, I wasn't there during Mardi Gras, but, like... The amount of people who were walking down Bourbon Street on a Tuesday night after a wrestling show and nobody was showing anything, like, there was a lot of beads for that. So,
okay.
Yeah. No.
And Gambit is talking to Rogue about, like, why they might be there and stuff. And he doesn't really get into it because they get attacked by, at the time, it just seems like a gang that knows Gambit.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was actually members of the Thieves Guild themselves because they had like a little bit of a back and forth with Gambit like stealing somebody's wallet and then Rogue kind of like returns it and stuff like that.
That's right, earlier, yeah.
But then we meet Julian, who I was like, should I know Julian?
Was he?
No.
Okay.
Answer is no. No, you should not.
So they get in like a bit of a fight, and in the tussle, Rogue like kind of grazes Gambit's skin. And she sees a bunch of flashes.
Julian's skin, not Gambit's skin.
Oh, was it? Okay, I thought it was.
That was Julian's skin.
Oh,
yeah, because it's the flashes to the house
right.
where there's a guy who's like tied up and trapped in the house.
Yeah, and it's amazing that she was able to parse out all the information she does for the rest of the episode from the flashes that we saw. Because I guess she also gets like the context of things as well as just the visions.
Yeah, I think it has to do with like recency, like whatever happened more recently, she's getting more vivid stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think it's mostly just translating like, oh, I'm giving you this giant dump of information. And it just like from an outsider's perspective, it's a flash, but it's sticking inside her head. So
yeah, they get away. They have that conversation about the Thieves Guild. And she was like, you can tell me part of the Thieves Guild. And he was like, well, those are the Rippers.
Which I guess had to be this standards and practices way of like not saying the Assassin's Guild.
I was wondering about that because I was like, am I supposed to know what Rippers are?
No. Rippers just came across as like the most hyper generic name for a gang you could think of.
Right. And so Gambit kind of confesses finally that he's looking for his kidnapped father.
Yeah, and he's going to go off on his own because he doesn't want her to get involved, is his positioning on it.
Yeah, so he walks around a corner, but then he waits.
Yeah.
And he, like, watches her and sees that she's starting to walk his direction. And then he, like, talks to himself. Like, that's right, come this way. I'm like, no, not fighting the creepy vibes whatsoever.
No. And then immediately sees Scott coming in his direction.
Okay, that was dumb on his part. He was like, you're going to kidnap one of the X-Men and then not expect the X-Men to come. Like, out of all the craziness the X-Men do, the one consistent thing they do is when one of them's missing, the rest look for them, unless it's Spike for some reason.
Thank you. Oh, found the clip.
I was going to say, this is our clip.
that was one of our best visual gags possible. Yeah.
And so he kind of preemptively goes and swoops up Rogue. And they talk, and she's like, I know where they took your father. He's at Blue Moon Bayou, which sounds made up.
Blood Moon Bayou.
Blood Moon.
Which also sounds made up.
I wrote Blood Moon, and I read Blue. It's late.
You heard me with my notes last week. I can't talk any shit, so.
So they take off that direction. I originally had rivers here, but now in hindsight, these are bayous that they were in because they just said bayou.
Swamps. Yeah.
Swamps.
Swamp stuff. Yep.
And Wolverine is tracking them by the and they get to the water, and was it Nightcrawler is like, hey, I happen to have a raft here. Or it was part of the jet, right? It was like one of the...
he brought it from the jet, and he thought it was like a little, like, I have to blow into this thing. God, Nightcrawler's dumb.
Right.
I do like when she absorbed her the powers for Julian, though. Like, she's actually able to navigate, like, where all the different mines are. I don't think Julian is smart enough to know where all the mines that were left in the water were.
I was wondering about that because, didn't Gambit, like, illuminated some... It wasn't confetti. It was, like, leaves or something. And
was it confetti?
Maybe it was confetti.
It might have been confetti.
And then he can kind of see into the water, and he's like, oh.
They start kind of having, like, their little bit of, like, bonding moment between the two of them, talking about, like, you know, he's not really my dad, it's the adopted dad. And it's kind of, like, he's trying to bond because of what he probably has heard between of all the stuff that, you know, the research from Magneto and everything like that. And then it's all about, you know, both of them are kind of trying to just exploit our powers. That's really why they took us in, not because of pure love or anything like that. So,
yeah, so it's like finally a parallel to the Rogue situation.
Yeah. And then you have a quick moment with Julian on the roof with his dad, who is just wearing like a thing of shoulder armor. Like he has a shoulder pauldron for some reason.
It's the 90s or 2000s. It looks cool.
Yeah. And he has Julian just is carrying around a bazooka.
I was wondering, it's kind of, they have the same supplier as Duncan in the previous episode.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, and he shoots down their boat as it's coming through the swamp. Very quickly, we see that there's no people in it, so it's like a decoy. I guess they abandoned that and took a safety raft. Yeah,
because if you were paying attention, as they were going through the water on the boat, there was a raft trailing them, so it wasn't totally out of nowhere. They at least covered their ass on that one. So,
so they pull up to the gazebo and dock at the house, and they start sneaking in. This is where Rogue touches Gambit.
Yep,
this was the point, and
because she sees a camera, pushes him out of the way. And as they roll down, his hand just like grazes her face because this Gambit wears gloves that don't cover all of his fingers. Like he doesn't have the cutoffs on his. I'm doing Spider-Man fingers right now. The other ones are also uncovered, so his entire hand ends up getting contact with Rogue. So,
and then she yells at him because she's like, "Wait, you lured me here knowing I was going to follow you and." You just used me to get information. Was like, evil, but also smart. Like, I think that might have been one of the more intelligent exploitations of a character in this show so far, and I'm surprised it came from that Gambit.
You know, he's a fuckboy, but he's not an idiot.
Yeah, I guess he was probably...
I don't think we've seen him do anything dumb, so...
Yeah. So he was
aside from the facial hair, that's a bad choice. Yeah.
And so he was like, it's my dad, what am I going to do? And then he just kind of goes inside.
Because she fucks off into the fog. She's like, I'm out. I did love as he's going inside and the door opens, they actually showed the glowing eye on his shadow.
Yeah.
Like, that was such... Like, we haven't seen that from other versions of him. Like, that actually looked legitimately dope. Like, the silhouette with just the eyes burning. So hopefully by the time this episode comes out, this other video will be out. I was a guest on my friend CZ World's YouTube channel. He did this thing. If anybody's familiar with when Eddie Burback toured every rainforest cafe in America or North America. Fuck yeah, we're familiar with that.
So CZ's World, he did like every haunted hayride or haunted mansion or whatever in SoCal. So he had a different creator go with him, and I went with him on the LA haunted hayride. I mean, I have not been to one of those in South 16.
Because it was the closest one?
Well, he just suggested it, and probably too, because he probably knows me well enough. He's like, Rod's not going to leave the city.
Rod's not going to make it down to Not Scary Farms.
Yeah, but even this, like, I don't know, that's a whole other thing. But there's one point in the night, I haven't been to these haunted houses in ages, and I got separated from the group, and so I was in this, like, dark, foggy hallway. It looked like this scene, and then it seemed like out of nowhere, just this shadowy figure, like a silhouette of a man with a chainsaw appeared, and I was like, guys, Zach, where are you? And I was so far ahead, I was like, hey, and then I just see that shadow sprint at me. And I don't know if the camera guy had caught up with me by then, so I don't know if there's his footage, but they had a GoPro on me. So like that's attached to me, so I'm holding. So there's footage of me like just dropping everything and running, and he just see me like, fuck no, and I just run into a rock and I skin my knee. So look forward to that, but you can attach that imagery with this scene, because I feel for whoever had to deal with Gambit in this scene, because that is, you see it in movies and stuff, you're like, oh, that's badass. In real life, it's fucking terrifying.
Especially when you're in a contained scenario that you know they can't actually hurt you. Like, I know you, like, the belief of it goes away when you're in the moment, but, like, in the back of your head, you're like, I'm still only, like, a 1% chance of dying right now.
There's some...
But it's not zero.
There's some, like genetic coding for an immigrant kid where it's just like, nope. Because I think in the back of my head, it's like... for all I know, an actual serial killer snuck into the woods of Griffith Park, and he's using this situation as a ruse.
That's got to be a story from some horror movie that somebody thinks they're in a haunted house, and it's the actual, like, Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees that's killing them. That's got to be a thing that's happened, right?
Probably. I mean, if not, you can watch it on CZ's World's video where it happened to me. Plot twist, I died.
It's wild. Rod's Ghost, great editor, though.
Anyway, so Gambit does make his way through. He obviously he's more power than any of these Rippers, and he makes his way through the whole place, and he finds his father and saves him, and they kind of bicker. Like, Gambit's like, I'm only doing this because I have somewhat of a conscience, but I hate you.
Yeah. And because his dad is like, well, oh, I'm shocked to see you here. It's like, he's kind of like giving him the like, oh, I thought you abandoned me type shit. Like, he's trying to guilt him, and Gambit's like, yeah, I felt like shit. Like, I didn't want to be here for you, but I didn't have a choice. So
yeah. And then Gambit's like, let's get out of here. And his dad's like, wait, we have a rare opportunity here. We're in the heart of our enemy's base.
I also want to point out, he's like, oh yeah, we could raid this place and like take out a bunch of stuff. Unless you're gonna murder them, this place is not nice. Like, it's like shit's falling off the walls and stuff. This doesn't look like there's a lot of shit for you to steal, I feel like.
Yeah, I thought...
this isn't like Mafia Stronghold vibes, you know?
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to say they were going to loot the place. I thought he said they were going to, like, set off something in the middle to take down the base or something. But yeah, then they almost get attacked, but Rogue comes in and she like had, you know, obviously it's that trope of changing her mind and coming back at the last minute. She like absorbs the two
Julian rippers. And his dad.
Oh, was it Julian? Yeah, and then we get like a glimpse of the storm that I wish we saw more of in this show, where she like rises out of the water. You know, and
she makes a full like tornado, cyclone, water cyclone, whatever you want to call that damn thing, and just like destroys a wall in this house.
Yeah, it goes straight through. Actually, you know what? When I saw that, it kind of reminded me of like what is I guess happening in Northern California right now is the cyclone bomb.
What?
I know it's not the same thing. Yeah, if you look at it, like right now, there's like a cyclone bomb happening in Northern California that's causing a lot of rain, and it's supposed to last for a few days, and we're going to get a little bit of that rain down here. I was like, wait, is Michael Bay in charge of the weather department now? Like, what?
Yes, it is.
I only know that because at the event I was at earlier today, I have some friends that had to fly back to SF, and they're like, might have to stay with a friend tonight because no flights can get into SF right now because of the cyclone bomb. I was like, what did you say?
That doesn't sound like a real thing.
Right.
That's like the first time I heard the phrase polar vortex, and I was like in my 20s, and I was like, how have I lived for this long without ever hearing the phrase polar vortex?
Right. Anyway.
God, the world's ending.
Yeah, we can only hope. The storm...
It murders people with a tornado.
Right? I mean, her and Evan,
straight
right?
up murders.
Because I said in the previous episode, Evan clearly like slit someone's throat. So Rogue here is taking out... Actually, she's back to form. She's taking out people within a house. So,
Storm, not Rogue.
Storm.
Yeah.
Took out people within a house. So technically, she destroyed the home. If there happened to be people in it, then...
You're still hung up on that from season 1 of 92.
I just think it's funny that she's like, it's justified because I'm only dealing with the building. I'm not in charge of the people inside.
But yeah, and then all the X-Men that are there are basically like providing escape routes using their powers and stuff. And then they steal 2 boats.
Yeah, so Rogue, Gambit, and Gambit's dad take off on one boat, and then the rest of the X-Men are on another boat. The Rippers are chasing them. This is one of the notes where I said, big chase scene.
Yep, swamp chase.
Yeah. Nightfaller, Jesus. Nightcrawler saves Rogue.
From gators, in particular.
Oh, that's right.
There were gators at that point. Those are some of the worst drawn gators I've ever seen. All due respect, those were not good gators. Those were like the fat alligator from Disney stuff.
Oh, so you can hear the clock inside.
It's not a good gator.
Gambit charges and explodes a boat.
Yep.
I wrote Storm clears things. What does that mean?
Storm gets Gambit out of the water, basically.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So she must have like parted something.
Yeah.
And then
Logan almost murders Gambit.
I said Logan tries to kill people.
Yeah. It was like, oh, you took her. This is all your fault. I'm going to put claws through your face.
Yeah. Oh, tries to kill Gambit. I didn't finish that note. That's what it was. Tries to kill
It was
Gambit.
particularly Gambit that he was like up against the tree, like one hand, claws drawn, pointed at his face. So, yeah.
So I don't know if I dozed off or backspaced a bunch of stuff, but that was the end of my notes. And I can't...
So you definitely forgot some shit.
Yeah.
Rogue is the one who does stop him. And it was kind of like Wolverine's like, oh, I'm owed some answers. And she's like, yeah, you're going to get them later. And then she gave probably like what was one of the best lines of the show was that he did the wrong thing for the right reasons.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And that's where they're like, yeah, let's head back. And he's like, you don't got to go. And she's like, whatever. I really don't care what you go off and do. And then there's like the quick handhold between the two of them. And she has the Queen of Hearts in her hand. So.
Oh, that's right. Because he like slipped it into her.
Yep.
Her hand. It was her all along.
Yep.
So.
It was the girls we abducted along the way. That would be a quote out of context that would get me in trouble.
I was going to say.
You're not clipping that one, Ron.
I'm just saying, like, I love that you alone said that so that if someone chooses...
And it's clean audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I stepped out of frame for that. I was like...
Yeah, you literally, like, yeah, for the audio listeners, it looks like I'm talking to an empty chair as that phrase happened. So great. Appreciate that. Yeah, but that's how the episode wraps up. This is the episode where he actually calls her Cher. Like, he actually says it multiple times within the episode, too. So it definitely was, you know, the furthering of their relationship in this one. And I don't know if this is the last time we see Gambit in the series. I kind of want it to be, knowing that we're going to hit a cliffhanger rather than letting it build further. I feel like that would be a bigger letdown, honestly.
Yeah. I kind of took this as, like, if it had gone another season, this would be, like, the turning point where he joins the X-Men. Mm-hmm. But there's not enough episodes to cover. There's, 3 episodes left?
Yeah, we have a guest scheduled for next week, and I'm always careful to not say the name of the guest until we record the episode, just in case.
It's Stan Lee. Too soon?
Yeah, we pre-recorded Stan's final cameo of anything ever. The one he did in Spider-Verse. Nope, it was us. Yeah.
It's just B-roll from the Captain Marvel movie cameo, where he's reading the Kevin Smith script
from Mallrats.
Yeah,
he's still not my favorite version of Gambit, but
no, not by far.
I do like him when he's not just an acolyte. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I think the piece that's missing for this version of Gambit for me is, why did he become an acolyte? Because he kind of makes it seem like he got out of the Thieves Guild because he didn't want to be a thief from his, like, shitty stepdad. But was it really that? Or was it just like, I wanted to be a thief, but I wanted to be my own thief instead of their thief? Yeah. But then he goes under Magneto anyway, so I'm still not 100% sure why he did it.
Yeah, maybe Magneto promised him something, and that was supposed to be something that was going to get covered in another season or something that we'll never get to see.
My camera just crapped out.
Oh, yeah, you froze.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's recording like that or not.
No, it's literally said, we've lost access to your camera.
Oh, no.
Well, Rod, we should probably end the episode.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. If you have any thoughts, make sure to drop them into the comments for either the YouTube upload or official Instagram post about this episode. If you like what you heard, we'd appreciate a rating on the podcast app you're choosing. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, and we're still fishing for pity subs on CastBox.